have.
Holy homunculus.
I have a very brief Star Trek challenge in here, and then I kind of want to quiz y'all a bit, because I feel like there's folks in the room who know about Star Trek.
I know a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to find out how much you know about Star Trek.
I've seen one Star Trek.
What's
So-
less than 0?
Keeping things relatively brief. This is a challenge for the Star Trek fans in the room. There is a friend who is tangentially aware, thank you for the Star Trek music, Ben, of Star Trek through their sibling. She and I have both managed to convince my friend into one episode to try out. If you could only recommend one Star Trek episode to someone as something to try out, what would your recommendation be? They do seem to be slightly more interested in newer stuff, but anything goes. Single Star Trek episode. Matt, I feel like you have an episode.
I have a very strong recommend because we did this, like my Discord server
yeah.
had a vote over what
Yeah.
episode. So it's The Measure of a Man,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
which is
Yep.
season 2, like mid to late season 2. It's basically,
I think it's episode 9 of season 2.
I think it is episode 9. It is the episode. So, brief synopsis: it is an episode wherein the crew of the Enterprise has to hold a hearing over whether Data is or is not deserving of human rights.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And because of the situation they're put in, Commander Riker has to take on the role of
the prosecution.
the prosecution. That's right.
Yeah.
He has to
Picard's his
prosecute,
advocate.
and Picard is his advocate.
Okay.
And so he has to. It's one of those ones where there's like good ethical dilemmas and conversation. It's a very character-driven episode. It's
Yeah.
about the like ideals of the Federation and the sort of like what it human rights. It's using sci-fi to interrogate human rights, and it's a phenomenal episode. If you like that episode, you will probably like the rest of TNG.
Yes.
If you don't like that episode, Star Trek is probably not for you.
One of the better
No.
lore pieces in that episode, too, where we get to find out that Data has an off switch.
That's true. I do want to keep things brief, though. Measure of a Man would actually be my answer as well. So I don't have anything other than that. Johnny and Erica?
Just for the sheer goofiness of it,
Yeah.
the new episode of Strange New Worlds, the musical episode this season. Like, just
You want to
because
start somebody off with that?
yeah, just like start them off with like what I love about that episode is it has the feeling of a writer's room and actors and directors and cast and crew, everyone working on a level that you generally don't see until a 5th season or 6th season of a show. Like,
Right.
everyone is gelling. Like, they have the confidence to pull off a full musical episode, like in the middle of their 2nd season.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is season 2, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like that. But the reason for that is because they've been writing these characters and acting these characters in another show previously because it is a spin-off of Discovery.
Yeah.
And so they had been doing it for a while, and this team was obviously gelling together. But, like, to see an episode that is that well put together and that goofy is great for a 2nd season episode. It's totally, you should check it out.
I have another recommendation.
If you keep it brief.
I will. Also from Strange New Worlds, I'm going to go completely the other way. Under the Cloak of War is possibly the best episode of Star Trek ever made. So, Under the Cloak of War is
Season
an
1 or
episode that
2?
is on one side or the other of that episode.
Yes,
I can't remember.
I think it's
before or after.
It might be right after, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like musical war crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is about again, without going into deep spoilers, just sort of synopsis. It is about the Federation hosting an ambassador to the Klingon Empire. That Klingon ambassador is a war criminal from the Klingon Federation War, and it is dealing with the war trauma and PTSD that that many of the crew members have in their service in the war, and having to deal with that while they're hosting this person that they still...
It is a great whiplash, but it's so good.
It's so good.
Okay, there we go. We have provided you with some Star Trek
I
recommendations.
have a recommendation.
What do you got?
I was Balance of Terror. It's an older one. It's an original series one, but it was my favorite
Ooh.
Star Trek episode. It's
Okay.
very self-contained. It doesn't require any extra information to understand, and it sets up one of the longest running Star Trek themes, which is the submarine episode. This is the one where they're hunting an invisible Romulan ship. It is one of the best. It is
It's like
very
Das Boot in
tense.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space boot,
Space Boot.
which you need to space jump.
Musical. War crimes. Did you mean Steven Universe?
Apologies, Erica. I thought I'd gotten you on the first time around before I was letting Matt have a
No
second
worries.
one.
Sorry.